Well,
Like, what? Wait a minute.
look, I think that's absolutely possible.
It sounds possible, but also so insane that we're so wrong about the linear timeline of human history that they had fucking lasers in India, like how many thousands of years ago, that they were using to carve an entire massive, perfect temple out of rock?
I was just down at the Hoysala temples, which are in southern India, and they have these lathe-turned pillars. The pillars are feet across. They're huge. And you walk up to them and you look at them closely and you can see the lathe marks on them. And archaeologists concede that they're lathe-turned, but they don't concede that it's machined. So they basically say, well, maybe they were turned on a lathe. We'll give you that. But that was probably human-powered or animal-powered. Yeah, so
God.
These are the statue or the lathe-turned pillars in southern India. I was just looking at these with my own eyes a couple weeks ago. It's completely unexplainable. And to think of the size of the machine that would be required, say you turn that pillar sideways, you connect it to a machine on each side, and you start lathing. Jamie, I have a folder in my India pictures that...
God, that's so pretty.
That has lots of so what you can see at sites like Hampi in India is you can see the evidence of lathing. So it almost looks like the setup that they would have used to carve these kinds of pillars. And it's just sitting in kind of far-flung corners of these sites. Nobody addresses what they are. It's like the left. So it looks like where a pillar might have been placed, and the machine was spinning. Some sort of a lathing machine. So I think it's like the other side of these pillars, basically.
Immensely heavy. And what kind of stone is it carved out of?
This is a chloritic schist, so it's called soapstone.
God, it's so pretty.
But there are lathe-turned pillars that are also granite. In southern India, it's a soapstone, so when it's quarried, it's a little bit softer, and then it hardens once it's out of the quarry. I would think so.
I've talked to him. I think this is the hierarchy, the structure of academics, and in terms of these guys that are teaching university courses and giving out PhDs and writing books. And they have a vast body of work that's all about the timeline and all about what they know. And they are the gatekeepers of information. And there's a lot of ego involved with academics. I'm sure you know that. And they get really shitty with each other. And they're vicious. They're vicious when they attack each other, even if they're wrong. Like the whole Clovis first thing was the best example of that. Yeah. The gentleman who proposed this theory that there were people here older than the Clovis people was destroyed by his own peers. And it took years before it was proven that he was correct. And not only was he correct, but he was correct by over 10,000 years. Yeah. Like now they're pushing it past 22,000 years ago because of the footprints they found in White Sands, New Mexico.
Right. The peopling of the Americas.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So humans have been here a long, long, long time. And this is just indicative of this pattern that happens whenever anybody comes up with any sort of an alternative theory that doesn't come from the gated halls of academia. They're just dismissed. But academics have only been around for a few hundred years. Like, we have to stop and think about how crazy it is that we've put the power in these people that we know are not always accurate, nor are they compromised, and they have ego problems. Yeah. And they have this structure of the people at the top that are giving out grants and giving out funding and giving PhDs and reading people's dissertations. It's very social and it's very complex. And to deviate from the narrative is devastating for your career. If they can destroy the guy who proposed that Clovis first was incorrect, that guy was an academic. He was established. Yeah. Imagine if you're a fucking PhD student and you're like, I think you guys are wrong. Well, you're fucked forever.
I used to work in corporate America, and there were a lot of things that I thought that I absolutely never said. Right? So if you think about these young archaeologists, even if they see something and they think, gosh, I wish that I could dive into that and really explore how old this is, they're going to get shut down immediately. And their self-preservation mechanisms are going to kick in because they've got a paycheck. You have to sympathize with the situation that they're in.
Oh, right? Especially the elites of the time.
Yeah.
Especially the humans that, were the kings and the pharaohs and all these different people. They wanted to have those heads. Mm-hmm.
Yep. There were some really interesting...
It sounds like we're crazy people, right? If I just tuned into this, it'd be like, oh, great, another one of those retarded Joe Rogan shows where he's talking to crazy people. But then you see that, Jamie, pull up some of the images of those skulls. I know we've shown them a million
times.
Jamie,
I have a folder with skulls. I can show you some really interesting ones from England that are on small bodies. So they almost look like fairies. And they have these giant skulls on these very small bodies. And it does make you think that probably had something to do with the mythology of fairies in England. This was at Avebury, which is one of the big stone circles. When you walk into the museum there are these amazing, anomalous, elongated skulls on these very tiny little bodies.
Whoa.
The other interesting thing about elongated skulls...
Are they children?
I don't think so. No. There's a woman named Maria Whitley who writes all about these skulls that she found that have been found all over England. That's Egypt. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so this is England. This is one of the skulls, but this skull is very small. But if you look at the shape of it, you know, their ears are in a different spot. They have huge eye sockets. I have another photo where there's one still attached to a small body.
Whoa. Look at the size of that head.
Isn't that interesting?
That's crazy.
Now, this one may have been a child. I don't remember specifically which of these skulls.
Even if it was a kid, that kid's going to be a football player.
He already has a helmet.
Fuck, kid has a giant head. But it doesn't look right. It doesn't look right.
It doesn't look right.
I have babies. They don't have heads that big. That's crazy. Even when a baby's got a big head, when they're little and they can barely hold their head up,
Yep.
it doesn't look
Little
like that.
bobbleheads.
That's crazy.
Another really interesting.
Look how far, I'm sorry, but look how far it goes behind the spine.
And look how flat it is at the bottom and the back.
Yes.
I mean, imagine holding that head up.